All right. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome once again to today's live stream, VB Technologies. My name is Gershom, as you guys know. Always with us on a Monday, we have our Vice Chair, Mr. Jingao. Mr. Jingao, good day to you, sir.
Yes, hello, good afternoon.
Nice. And Mr. Jason. Okay, go ahead. My bad, I didn't mean to interrupt your introduction.
All good.
All right. Also, we have with us today, as always, our co-founder and executive leader, Mr. Jason Wong. Mr. Wong, how was
Happy
your Monday
Monday.
so
Good
far,
evening.
sir?
Nice. Monday generally is a rough day, right? But this particular Monday turns out to be a pretty good Monday. I'll tell you why. Well, I know you're going to be playing the video in a little bit, but there are a lot of positive news coming out of the vaccine front, which makes me, really happy and gives, a lot of people a lot of hope. And also my older kids and they, just started their virtual camp today. So that gives me a little bit of time to kind of do my own stuff, right? So turns out to be a pretty good Monday.
That's nice. That's nice. So basically you hit the ground running today, huh?
That's right.
Awesome. Yeah. It's been a great Monday. What's going on with you, James? How is things out there in beautiful California?
Sunny and beautiful, man. You never know. There's a gigantic global pandemic going off right now.
You never know, huh? You guys are so lucky in California, man. It's a beautiful place. Okay, guys. We have a lot of information to discuss with you guys today, as always. And once again, welcome. I would love to have you guys here. And guys, we want to see you guys, put some stuff in the comments. Let's make this interactive. So if you have some thoughts about some of the things that we're talking about, we'd love to hear it. Let's make it, back and forth type situation, get involved with the topics that we're talking about. Just like Mr. Wong just mentioned, our first topic is about the COVID-19, because there's some good news coming out from some of these companies, pharmaceutical companies, regarding the vaccine. And there are quite a few companies working on different aspects of a vaccine. This one apparently shows some real promise. They've done some tests. The results are positive. I know there's another company also working on some kind of, I'm not sure if it's vaccine or not, but it targets the lungs as opposed to targeting the antibodies. So, Mr. Wong, do you have any more information on this particular vaccine that you're talking about, the one that shows so much promise?
Yeah, the video is actually, these informational study info just came out. So,
Mr. Wong, you're breaking up really bad.
Your normal antibody response.
Yeah, Jason, you're
breaking up really bad, Mr. Wong.
There's something wrong with your connection. Why don't?
In your
Yeah, we can't hear you, Jason. So why don't you try to find better connection? In the meantime, James, you want to play that video?
I want to play the video, James.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it.
Some vaccine news to start the week as Lancet weighs in on AstraZeneca's COVID-19 candidate. Let's get to Meg Terrell. Meg?
Hi, Carl. Well, highly anticipated results coming from Oxford University, which has partnered with AstraZeneca. Still digging through the details as they literally just came in, but essentially showing that the vaccine induced an immune response in these participants. This is the phase 1-2 trial run in more than 1,000 participants in the UK.
Yeah.
One of the first human studies
my
of
always
this
have an issue
vaccine.
with Zoom
And they looked at
some
both giving
reason.
1 dose and 2 doses of the vaccine.
The video.
They did find that after giving 2 doses, the immune response was stronger. Based on how they measured the generation of these antibodies from the vaccine, they found that all of the participants generated antibodies with the first dose with one way of measuring, but not with another way of measuring. But with the second dose, all of them did so. You're seeing AstraZeneca's stock down more than 2% now on these news. These were highly anticipated data with very positive sort of preambles last week coming out suggesting they were very strong. So as people are parsing through the data here, we will get a read on whether this matches up with extremely high expectations. But importantly, the researchers also reporting this generally appeared to be safe. They did note that about 70% of participants reported fatigue and headache, and taking paracetamol tended to help with any of the effects of getting the shot, guys. But still reading through these data, they do say this generated an immune response. And of course, they're taking this into a much larger set of phase 3 efficacy trials to really get a read on whether this will be protective.
All right. So I hope you guys got some stuff from that video, which, it sounds like this particular vaccine that they are talking about is showing some really good promise. And if that's the case, then maybe they can get it to market in the next few months, which a lot of people right now is hoping for that. We need to get a handle on this whole COVID-19 situation is really putting a damper on a lot of things, not just people's livelihood, but the overall economy. So I believe that if we don't get this thing under control rather quickly, we're going to have a lot of pain coming from this. So hopefully, this vaccine that they're talking about seems like it's promising, it's working out. The test is coming back pretty positive. So, so we'll see. What say you, Mr. Wong?
Hey, so what's really encouraging in this is that, it not only triggers the immediate antibodies in the body based on this vaccine, but it also triggers the T cells. I am certainly no medical expert, but I'm curious to if we have anyone, because I know people that are in the medical use, but my understanding is that T cell kind of antibodies that when
Mr. Wong, your audio is very wonky again.
And so if it ever comes,
Yeah,
Mr. Wong, your audio is like super wonky.
yeah, Jason, it's yeah, we can't really hear you. So, you still there, Jason? Yeah, I think you need to find another place where you can get a better reception for your Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's definitely great news. I just can't wait till this whole thing is over. Our company is actually we have a lot of things that we put on hold because of course there's a pandemic issue. If there's vaccines coming out, oh man, that would be awesome. Of course, if we can just flatten the curve or make the curve go down and get this country have other countries allow us to get into their country, that would be awesome. Of course, we have trips that we are planning. We have our shopping sprees that we are planning. But obviously, we can't really plan anything until we have this thing under control. But the next immediate thing that what we really want to do, of course, is go to Canada. And actually, we have a contest. I'll talk more about the contest tomorrow about our new batch of miners that will be going in Calgary. And we're going to have a contest where we're going to take 10 people to the data center. We'll fly them there, we'll wine them, we'll dine them. We're going to shoot some promotional videos. We're going to have them work on those miners, to have them put on the miners. So hopefully that will happen. I'll get into more details tomorrow night on qualifications. But I'm hoping that the Canadian border will be, right now it's closed. Canada, they said that border, they expect it to open in middle of August. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. So our trip will be in October and November. Somewhere in that time, when the border is open, of course, and when our miners going to be here. Right? We're expecting those S19 miners to be here somewhere in October. So that is what we're looking into. So once we get closer, and we have this this coronavirus pandemic taken care of, then we have a better idea. As we get closer, I'm excited. I know all our members are really excited and can't wait until this whole pandemic is over so we can start traveling. But this is what our business is about. Our business is about going out there and meeting our members, building our business, traveling, the joy of traveling, the joy of going out and fine dining, okay? And we miss all that. So I just can't wait.
Yeah, for those of you guys who are members, if you haven't been on a trip with the CEO and the vice chair and our leader here, Mr. Jason Wong, you have no idea what you're missing. So definitely you want to be one of the top people to get to go on this trip and have them wine and dine you. It's a beautiful experience. Mr. Wong, I know that your audio has been really choppy and wonky a little bit, but I definitely want to hear your take on this vaccine thing. So hopefully your audio is much better, but can you go ahead and give us your take on the vaccine situation?
Oh, yeah. So I'm very happy to hear that this particular vaccine, that AstraZeneca is partnering with Oxford University. The preliminary data actually shows that it triggers not only antibodies, but also a T-cell response, which you can think of the T-cell response as more of a long-term protections, right? If your body has ever been infected with anything in the past, it stores in those memories, right? In the T-cell memories, so it can continuously protect your body from infections or reinfections. So I am no medical expert, but that's my understanding. I'm curious to see if some of our audience might be able to shed some lights into this this little piece of news, positive news for sure. So, and the next phase is going to be 30,000 plus participants. That's correct. Double-blinded study, 30,000 plus participants. So that would give us a really, really good idea as to the effectiveness of this particular vaccine. So.
Awesome. I know that we have quite a few members who are in the medical field, so you're right. I would love to hear their input, based on your analysis of what the vaccine could possibly do. So that's great. So any good news right now that's good news relating to this COVID-19 vaccine is good, because it's been a few months now. It's wreaking havoc and everything across the plains, whether it's your personal life, whether it's the overall economy, the financial situation. It's just really bad. So whatever that we can do to get it under control is very welcome. So hopefully this works out. Moving along so our next topic, the CEO for Grayscale, and we've talked about Grayscale quite a bit on our live stream, because Grayscale is one of the biggest companies on the forefront. It's a trust. And they have been buying up almost all the Bitcoin that's been mined. As a matter of fact, the equivalent of what they've been buying as far as Bitcoin for the past few months has been more than what's been mined. So they have a lot of Bitcoin in their arsenal because they represent a lot of big clients as well. But what he's saying is this, he did an interview the other day and he said, hey, you know what? Right now, Bitcoin is too big to ban. And, just like we hear all these big banks that are too big to fail, right? I never thought I'd hear something like that. A bank is too big to fail. But I think his argument is very valid. He said right now Bitcoin is too big to ban because the regulations are being set in place. More and more people are getting involved, and not just mom and pop. When it was just mom and pop, you can probably say, maybe they'll do something to Bitcoin, and that's going to be negative. But when you have big Wall Street hedge funds coming in, multi-billion-dollar players coming in, then, right now it's getting to a point where they really can't ban it. So I believe him. I would love to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think that right now where Bitcoin is in our ecosystem, is it too big to ban? I believe it. What do you guys think about that, Mr. Wong?
Politics is always unpredictable.
It's very tricky.
But what's actually encouraging is that, as a crypto industry, we start having, more and more these lobbying groups, right, that are advocating for our industry, so that we can get the ears of the senates, of the governments, of the representatives over in the Capitol Hills, right? So that is a big help. And another big piece, I think, is that that the article mentioned that the chair of the SEC is being reassigned or recommended to be, heading up a federal court. So that leaves an opening. This particular, SEC chair has not been friendly to the crypto industries, number one, and actually, so it might be a positive thing for this to happen. So,
yeah.
This is a very common questions from our members or for potential from prospects. They say, what happens if Bitcoin's banned or becomes illegal? So I'm glad we talked about this topic, and we talked about it before, right? We read the article before about what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump it came out, I think, about a month ago or so, a couple months ago, where Donald Trump told the authorities to go after Bitcoin. So the president wasn't a big fan of crypto. Now you have all these companies coming in, right? You have Fidelity coming in, you have JP Morgan, now Grayscale, and Grayscale's fund of over $1 billion or $1.6 billion, right? So is it going to be too big? Yeah, I think it's getting there, right? Not just the money wise. I think people, you have a large amount of people that are into Bitcoin, they are pro Bitcoin and pro crypto. Now you have these institutionals that are coming in, right? So you have people and you have money, right? Politics, you're right. Politics is unpredictable, but somewhat predictable is in terms of money. It's all about the money, right? If there's enough lobbyists, enough people coming in and lobby against it, and enough money to go into the campaign, then yes. And the industries are getting in that way, or where we have beginning to have lobbyists on our behalf. So I think definitely it's going to be harder, right? And Donald Trump's been in office for almost 4 years. He wasn't a fan, and is still here, right? Is he might or might not be in office for the next 4 years? We don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's going. Yes, it is. It is tough to ban Bitcoin, right? And that's why we're in this space. And even if the U.S. bans it, what about the other countries? Right, we're talking about this pandemic over here. Just talking about different states. We have different states that have different measures, different ways of handling this coronavirus. Now, just imagine the country. The world. You imagine all these hundreds and hundreds of countries that would have to get on board, right? Because Bitcoin is a decentralized currency, right? It's a world currency. So it's not just the U.S. If you're going to do that, what's going to happen to the world, right? Just controlling 50 states, getting them on the same page is hard.
You have to get the whole world on the same page, right?
On the same page.
That's a good point, Mr. Gao. And also I was thinking, I'm quite sure, and I'm willing to bet that there are a lot of politicians right now in Washington who owns Bitcoin. They may not come out and say it. I know a couple for sure. I know the lady from a Congress lady from Hawaii. I remember she came out and said that she owns Bitcoin. And there's a new senator from Georgia. She got put in on some kind of special case. It wasn't a vote, and she used to head the Back Project, which is another Wall Street custodian project. And so I think not only, like you said, Mr. Wong, lobbyists are getting involved as far as lobbying for the crypto space and Bitcoin space, but I also believe that some of these politicians, some of these Congress people and senators, they're also involved with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So yeah, I believe it. I don't think that that's going to happen where they can actually ban Bitcoin. And also, like you said, Mr. Gao, if they did it, they banned Bitcoin here in the U.S. There are what, 200 other countries that Bitcoin can be used. And what would happen is you probably see a brain drain, if they ban Bitcoin or cryptocurrency here, because that's where technology is shifting. And so if that happens, you can see a lot of the developers, a lot of engineers, a lot of the tech people probably just go someplace else. So yeah, I don't see that happening. Speaking of which, as far as more people getting involved with Bitcoin, one of the things that a lot of us don't really understand right now is how can we benefit from Bitcoin in retirement? And very few people probably understand that if you have a self-directed IRA, you could actually use that IRA to purchase Bitcoin. Now, we're not giving financial advice here at all, but one of the ways that you could actually get Bitcoin into your self-directed IRA is by setting up an LLC inside the IRA, and especially with our case, right? Then you will use the LLC to purchase the Bitcoin mining machine, and then that LLC owns the mining machine, which is in your IRA, and that's not a way to get Bitcoin into your IRA. But there are a lot of brokers that doesn't allow that. So this video we're going to play for you today, short video, probably 6 or 7 minutes long, but one of the companies right now that's working to make it easier to where you can actually own Bitcoin in your IRA is a gentleman that was talking in an interview with Pompliano, and he was talking about his company and some of the things that they're doing to make it easier for clients to get Bitcoin in their IRA as part of their retirement. I think it's a really good topic. And for those of us who may be thinking along those lines, but may not understand how to do it, I would recommend that you start looking into that. You know, if you have an IRA or a self-directed IRA, and you're thinking about having Bitcoin inside your IRA as a retirement, I would definitely encourage that. So let's check out this video, and hopefully you guys can get some tips from it and have an idea of where the industry is going as far as having Bitcoin in your retirement account. Whenever you're ready, James.
One of the things that you guys are doing, so obviously working with folks like Fidelity obviously is a very big kind of stamp of validation, if you will, to some degree, and people kind of trust that brand. But also,
we had to pass their diligence. That's for sure.
Yeah, but there's also this element of like, if I want to take my retirement account, turn it into a self-directed IRA, right, which I've done. I've got a choice account personally. Is I also am not boxed into just Bitcoin. Right, which I actually think is a really important piece of this, because you and I are, you know, kind of hardcore believers of hardcore believers, and frankly, we probably are willing to take much more risk when it comes to an asset like Bitcoin than most people. But if I wanted to, I could actually go buy stocks. I could go buy other alternative assets. I could kind of do all of this stuff out of this self-directed IRA. And so I don't get pigeonholed in saying, oh, if I convert my retirement account into this new structure, then like basically I have to keep it in Bitcoin forever. So maybe talk a little bit about like the optionality that people have and why you look at that as a positive.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like we looked at, you know, you look at the retirement market, and you know, what's happened in the last 3 or 4 years is that there's been some of these companies that have emerged, and they just do Bitcoin only, and they charge. And what you have to do is you have to sell all of your stocks and all of your mutual funds, and you have to move cash over to this group, and they're charging like 10% on the way in. So 10% of everything you move in, they're charging. And you know, it's amazing where you're having to dump over, you know, manage this stuff over here at your Schwab account and then send it over here. And you know, it creates this friction. And I don't think that's what's best for Bitcoin. And I don't think that's what's best for users. And, you know, I view this option and choice that we've provided, where you can go from legacy markets to digital markets, as just like the upward momentum of integration of these two worlds. Like, I don't think it's anything that we're doing that is necessarily overly innovative. It's just that now what we're seeing is like, look, hey, rest of the investment world, Bitcoin and the extended blockchain industry or crypto industry is at the table. We're not going anywhere. So now we're here. We're part of the portfolio, whether you guys like it or not. And now investors are able to participate in your world and ours from the same technology rails that they've been doing for the last 30 years. And I don't think we'll be the only ones. I think it's only a matter of time before you see the exchanges start to offer legacy assets like stock trading. I think you'll see the big, you know, the mothership Fidelity and Schwab start to offer crypto trading soon and Bitcoin trading. I think this is an industry, you know, us with choice, we're kind of running through that gap as hard as we can right now for the people that want one account, legacy and digital, and then have the option of how they want to hold their digital in a forward-thinking way. So we're trying to be our generation's next Schwab and Fidelity and really understand from the Bitcoiner's view, right? We understand things like our people want to own their own keys, and our people want to keep stuff with Fidelity, or people want to put it in motion. It isn't just some like siloed. And we see that extending into the world of DeFi beyond just Bitcoin too. I mean, people are going to want to start baking, staking, earning other types of yield in the industry out of their retirement accounts. So I think that's where we'll stay competitive, but it's only a matter of time before you see the Coinbases and the Schwabs and the Fidelities at the mothership level offer both access as well. And look, as a Bitcoiner, I'm pumped about that. I know I'm here, we're all here to make money and, advance commercial and shareholder terms. But as a Bitcoiner, I think that my best thing that I can do right now is get Abby Johnson's attention that we're seeing, 20,000 plus people on our wait list to open a choice account. And that if they integrate Bitcoin in the rest of the thing in their Fidelity accounts, that's a big win for Bitcoin, I think. So that's what I'm hoping that we're going to do. And I hope that the big players take notice and take Bitcoin in our industry as serious as we do.
One of the stats that you told me early on that blew my mind was there's like 7 million people who already own Bitcoin, but they have none in their retirement account, right? And this would be the equivalent of saying there's a bunch of people who own stocks, but none of it's in their retirement account. Like that would just be unfathomable. But in Bitcoin, that's the truth, right?
Dude, I am so embarrassed that I was one of them. Like, I bought my first Bitcoin in 2012. I sit there and I stack, like, I got my wife signed up with Lolly. I do all of this stuff. All right. And I didn't own any Bitcoin in my retirement account. So, and we did the math. There's, if you take the cross, there's two ways of getting this. If you take the cross, there's 7.1 million Americans that have already made the leap, all right, the leap to buy Bitcoin or take the dive into our industry, so to speak, and have a retirement account, but don't have Bitcoin in their retirement account. And if you also look at people's discretionary investable money, they usually have 3 to 4 times more investable discretionary money in their retirement accounts than they do their non-retirement accounts. So when I say this is the biggest opportunity for Bitcoin, especially in this kind of stock to flow model that we look at, I'm looking at 7.1 million Bitcoiners that have 3 times more investable money in their retirement accounts that aren't using their retirement accounts to hodl. And that's what we're focused on. And if we convert some more people over to Bitcoin along the way, that's great. But for now, we're just if we stay narrow focused on that, that's big enough. And I think that's it's massive to me. And I think that if you look at that, there's $28 trillion that is in the U.S. retirement market. And, it's just, I just think it's a really big opportunity for us to all go out and evangelize about and make sure that these Bitcoiners know that you don't have to just have your retirement savings at some zombie bank that's telling you that Bitcoin's not okay. And the other thing, by the way, just because I'm to rant about, we have 50,000 people in the U.S., 50,000 that work in the Bitcoin industry or extended Bitcoin industry, like blockchain industry. And most of those companies have 401ks, like employer-sponsored 401ks. And what you get is some some time intervaled product that rebalances for you and says, here, put $16,000 of your money a year in this, and we'll tell you what happens with it later. And it's amazing to me. And you talk to some of these CEOs of these Bitcoin companies, and you say, well, why? Your employees wake up every day to advance this industry, but they can't access that in their employer-sponsored retirement account. And I think that's an equal injustice. And it's because the same thing, like some legacy provider and bank is saying, no, too risky. Meanwhile, they're the extent of that is in this kind of Fed rat trap cycle of printing and stock and this whole stock inflation bubble there. And I think that our community has an opportunity to opt out of that at the employer level too. So I think you'll see a lot emerge there in the next year or two as well.
All right. I thought that was a very informative video. I hope you guys think so as well. One of the fascinating things that he said in the video that really grabs my attention, which it makes sense when you think about it, that there's so many people right now who are involved with Bitcoin in some way, shape, or form, but they don't have Bitcoin set up as any form of like retirement, or they don't have Bitcoin in their retirement account, right? How many people right now have an IRA or a self-directed IRA, but doesn't have Bitcoin tied to it in some way, shape, or form, right? And so I wanted to bring that video to you guys' attention. If you guys haven't been thinking about it, at the very least, start processing that. How, do you want to be invested in Bitcoin, but not have it tied to your retirement, right? We all know what's going on with pension funds and all that stuff. We all know that your 401k is tied to the traditional market. We all know what's going on there. So why not figure out a way how to also have Bitcoin as part of your retirement planning? And so hopefully that triggers something. You guys can start thinking about it and start processing that. But I think definitely that everyone should think about how they can integrate Bitcoin into their retirement account. What say you, Mr. Gao?
That's a great idea. And also for anyone that's really interested, we had a financial planner on a couple of times already, Art. And if anyone's interested in doing something like that, doing a retirement account for the Bitcoin, please put your comment, and then I can invite him back, and he would love to talk to us more about it and how to set it up, and get into the legal sides and really the detail, the nitty-gritty of it. Putting Bitcoin for retirement, I think it's a great idea. And again, right, you Bitcoin, it is volatile, so definitely you put like 5% of your asset in it, that would be totally fine. That would be great. And with what they said about Bitcoin, right, a lot of people are predicting Bitcoin will be 100,000, 500,000 in the next few years, or even $1 million at the next halving or so, or the next 5 to 10 years. So you just imagine all those gains. If you put it in retirement, all those gains will be tax-free, right? If you do a Roth, but traditional, yeah, it'll be tax deferral at least. All those gains will be tax deferral. So that's why it's important to do that. Another thing I got from the interview, a funny thing, we always talk about the population of people that are involved in Bitcoin, right? Like he mentioned, he's at about 7.1 million. Only 7.5 million people in the US. How many people do we have? We have over 300 million, right? So we have over 300 million people, only 7 million are into Bitcoin that has Bitcoin, which means the population in the US is only about 2%. Only 2% of the people have Bitcoin. And look at where we are now with Bitcoin, right? A lot of institutions to come in, the price of Bitcoin. Imagine that 2% turn into 4%, 5%. 7% of people, or even 10% of the population, right? So that's where these prices, these ridiculous, this crazy price that we can't even think about, like that's where these numbers are coming from, right? So, so good stuff.
Yeah. You're so right, Mr. Gao. When we hear these numbers a lot of times, people tend to, their eyes roll over because they just can't believe it. But from what I've seen, seeing Bitcoin going from like 5 cents to 20,000, when someone say they could see Bitcoin $1 million in 5 years, I think that's conservative, right? But Mr. Wong, I would love to get your take on it. What are your thoughts on the idea of more people looking to, in some way, shape, or form, having Bitcoin in their retirement account, sir?
I think it's a great move, for the industry. We need to be able to expand that. Most of the Americans, or working Americans, hold their assets in two places. One is their home, their primary home, and second is their retirement account. So we by being, like this company is able. What is the name of the company? I didn't catch that, Joshua.
I don't know. You know what? I don't remember. I can probably drop it in the Telegram group later.
Okay. Yeah, by being able to, open this up and offer these services at a very reasonable fees. I think one of the interview was saying that, prior to that, if you want to do it, you got to pay. They charge you 10% of the money that you move in, which is ridiculous, right? I mean,
that is ridiculous.
So you're telling me, if everything goes well, the first year I'll be expecting to make zero. I'm starting out in a negative, basically, right? That's crazy. But I'm so glad that they're doing it with a much more reasonable fees and and whatnot, and to navigate these, some of these legality is and can be complicated. I'll tell you. I mean, I have a self-directed IRA myself. I have one for my wife as well. So we have set these up for specifically for to put part of our retirement asset into Bitcoin. So which makes a lot of sense to us, right? And this is one of the few things that you don't have to work hard and to be automatically be in the top 2%, right, of the population, Jin. I think that's what you were saying. if you have money, we always talk about being the elite top 1% or top 5%. Guys, this is simple.
It is. I was thinking about what Mr. Gao says. You don't need to put your entire. And first of all, guys, as I said before, this is not financial advice. We're not financial advisors. We're just having a conversation and, coming up with different topics and ideas. Please do your own research, consult your financial advisor, your CPA, in any decision you make regarding your finance and your retirement. We're just having a conversation here. But one of the things that Mr. Gao said that really makes a lot of sense is that you don't need to put your entire retirement money into Bitcoin, but you just need 5%. And, we always say, you don't want to invest in something, money that you can't afford to lose, right? So 5% of your portfolio, if you lose it, it's only 5%. But what I was thinking about is that 5% in the long run will vastly outperform the other 95%, right? And that's what some of these big-time Wall Street guys are thinking about. And that's why now they're starting to make that shift, because they're realizing, hey, if I only put just 2% of my portfolio in this thing, okay, if we lose 2%, okay, no big deal, right, in terms of overall portfolio. But this 2% can give me 100x, 1,000x. And you look at the risk-reward ratio, and that's what you have to take in. So, yes, I think Mr. Gao make an excellent point. If you put just 5% of your portfolio into Bitcoin, having your retirement account, in the long run, I strongly believe that 5% would vastly outperform the other 95%. So I just kind of want to get that thought out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, Gershom, another comment that he made, how these traditional stock exchanges is going to start thinking about how to get into trading Bitcoin into their exchange, right? And vice versa for crypto. How Coinbase is going to get the equity and they're able to trade stocks on their exchange, right?
Yes.
So it's already happening actually. Grayscale, that's pretty much what Grayscale does. More of an institutional level. So what Grayscale does, yes, they raise the money, and what they do is actually the money that they raise for the fund, they go there and buy Bitcoin, right? So if you look at the fund right now, what Grayscale has, their ticker symbol is GBTC. It's pretty much a Bitcoin fund. So their market cap is at $1.6 billion. Right? So pretty much anyone can go in there and buy a share of their fund. Right? And what it is holding Bitcoin. Right? So eventually what's going to happen is it's either these exchanges will be able to hold Bitcoin directly, or to make it to have some kind of pegging system, like what crypto has right now. How Coinbase has a US dollar pegged, the USD coin, the stable coin is pegged to the dollar, right? So it's going to happen. It's going to go into the traditional stock market. People can trade either holding Bitcoin or holding some sort of a peg system where everything they hold is pegged to a Bitcoin or to a cryptocurrency, right? And with Grayscale, actually, and I read in some article, what they're saying is all this money that Grayscale raised, right here, they actually hasn't used all the money to buy Bitcoin yet, right? Some are saying the only portion of their money is to use to buy Bitcoin, right? The 1 whatever billion that they raised. Right? Only some of that money are using Bitcoin. So what they're probably trying to do is maybe waiting for the price to go down and then buy some more and buy it like that. But all those money that they have is not being used on Bitcoin yet. Right? So that's another potential. for the Bitcoin price to go. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. The landscape is changing. The financial landscape, the retirement landscape, all of that is changing, and it's changing to the point where Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is being integrated. And I think that also support the argument that Bitcoin right now is too big to be banned, because they already start to integrate it into the current system. So it's going to be very difficult to integrate something into the current system and then ban it. Doesn't make any sense, right? So I definitely support the argument that right now it's just not that they ever wanted to ban it anyway. I think a lot of those arguments were FUD, from the naysayers and the skeptics. But I don't think that there was any real solid argument that the government were planning to ban Bitcoin. It's just people that didn't understand it and didn't want to understand it. And that was just kind of like a crutch for them to fall back on because it was so different. The only thing that they could process is, hey, they're going to ban this, right? Hasn't happened yet, and now things are going to happen. All right, moving right along. So we're going to wrap it up with this one last topic. And what they're realizing, and a couple of banks in Swiss, and what they came out with, they said that in the past few months, ever since they started to offer their client Bitcoin, their profit margin has increased over 34%. And the reason why I think that's important, we talked about a couple of weeks ago how JP Morgan Chase, when in the beginning their CEO said Bitcoin was a fraud, only criminals use it. If you catch anyone that's trading Bitcoin, they fire them, blah, blah, blah. Then we find out that in the background that he was trading Bitcoin, right? And then come to find out later on, now they're offering services to Coinbase, one of the biggest Bitcoin exchange in the country. And what I'm starting to realize is that these banks see money. They see money in this industry. And so there's no way they're going to continue to fight it. Now what they're going to try to do is co-opt it, get involved, integrate it into their system. But reports are coming out that these banks that have taken the leap and is allowing their clients to purchase Bitcoin through their platform, they're seeing a dramatic increase in their profit margin, which is only going to encourage more banks and more financial institutions to, not be so rigid when it comes to their clients buying Bitcoin. Because I remember back in the day, guys, I don't know if you guys realize this, back in the day, you couldn't even use your credit card to buy Bitcoin. If you're using your credit card to buy Bitcoin, your credit card company would reject it. You don't see that anymore, right? So I think as time goes on, you're going to see more of these banks and institutions start to get involved because they're realizing that you cannot stop this thing called Bitcoin. So I thought that was encouraging, and I just want to share it with you guys. What do you think, Mr. Wong?
Like I always say, the bankers are the quickest, group of people to kind of switch their position. I mean, they follow where the money's are. Right?
They follow the money.
That's enough said about that. And Jamie Dimon is a prime example of someone who actually can switch his or her his position in a matter of seconds. So he went from the biggest naysayer when it comes to Bitcoins to directing his spend to support it. Yeah. So I don't need to say no more. That's it.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I think JP Morgan Chase started to allow people to use credit card to buy Bitcoins, and also people that were paying those fees would get them refunded. Actually, let me see if I can pull that up. But what do you think, Jen?
I think what you were talking about is the Chase credit cards. They were charging them as cash advance when people were buying crypto. So there's a lawsuit against that. There's a class action lawsuit against Chase for saying that is a cash advance. Okay, instead of using it as a typical charge.
So I just pulled that up. So there's the banks. Yep. Jen is correct. Chase Bank will repay user who were wrongly charged cash advance fees while buying cryptocurrency. The bank will pay back 95% of the $2.5 million that it charged. and that was in June 2nd, so around June 2nd timeframe. So
yeah, good for those people to get their money back from those crooks.
All right. and this article you just pulled out about the Swiss bank's profit up 34%. That actually really supports what the interview just said earlier, that YouTube video that we played earlier, right? The banks, they're charging you 10% to get it. That's how they make their money. You know, they're charging. You want to buy Bitcoin, but you don't know you want to do it easily with us. Okay, here, 10%, whatever it is.
We're going to charge you for it.
Right, we're charging you. And that is why the crypto industry, the Bitcoin industry, our industry is still in the very beginning, right? That's why they're able to do this kind of stuff. That's why they're able to charge so high. And our job is that's why we do this every week, right? Every Monday and Friday, and with our company, to educate people, because you don't have to pay those fees. If you know how to do it, you don't have to pay those crazy fees, right? You can mine with us, right? You learn about blockchain, you learn about the wallet, and then you can just buy from Coinbase if you want to buy any exchange, right? They won't charge you a 10%. If you buy from us, you do a dollar cost averaging. It's very, very, and in the long run, you're gonna mine more than what if you were just buying, right? So if we educate people, and people know more about and that's what makes it let people know it's still an infant industry, right? Okay. And the more we are out there to educate people, get people slowly get into it easily and inexpensively, right? We know the market is down. We know the demand is out there, right? Just like Grayscale, 1.6 billion, same thing. Grayscale, they charge a huge markup, right? That 1.6 billion that you see, it is not $1.6 billion worth of crypto. Right, they're 10% as well. Right? So that's what's happening right there. That's what the banks are doing. They're doing these crazy markups. But once we're out there to educate people and more people get involved, the better we're off. The better we are.
Absolutely, Mr. Gao. I think two things I want to touch on what you said. Definitely, I think as more banks get involved, the fees will probably eventually, come down, because competition always cause less cost. Right now, like you said, a few banks that's doing it, so they can charge all these exorbitant fees. But as more banks get involved, then the fees going to go down. So that's a great thing. And then, I think a bigger part of Bitcoin in general is just education. I know so many people that in the beginning had such a negative view of Bitcoin. And then once they educate themselves, they're kicking themselves in the butt. Like, why did I do this earlier? It's education. And I know Mr. Wong always talk about this. It's like so many things that people are have a negative view, they're afraid of it, is the lack of information. They just don't know. And so you're right, Mr. Gao, that's one of the reasons why we do these live stream, is so we can bring the information to people, and hopefully they can take in this information and make some better decision as it relates to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. So we're going to wrap it up, guys. I think we've gone almost an hour. Mr. Wong, any last words for the people out there, my friend?
Hey man, stay safe out there, guys. We're going to get there eventually.
Yes. Mr. Gao, any last words, sir?
No, just tune in tomorrow, Tuesday night, 7:30. All right, I'll talk about our contest to Canada. I have a couple of people that say they want to go to Canada, so we'll talk about that tomorrow, and then I'm excited too. So stay safe and have a good night.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. See you guys tonight, 9 p.m. for the compensation webinar, as always. In the meantime, have a wonderful night, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 7:30. Okay. Good night, guys. See you guys. Take care.